Tonight, those who survived are still trying to get in touch with their family members to tell them they're all right. News 4's Chris Negus is live in Aurora, Colorado with one of their stories. Chris.
We are here in Aurora, Colorado, outside the shopping center, outside the movie theater where this massacre took place during the midnight showing of Batman last night. Investigators still on the scene. There is yellow crime scene tape that surrounds this entire shopping center, which is closed today. I would describe this area as similar to what you would see around the Chesterfield Mall, Chesterfield Valley area. You can see the gunman's car across the street. Investigators are currently going through that car looking for evidence. There is a lot of media here. There are a lot of people here. Just up the street, a local high school where the victims and their families are looking for answers. Now, I can also tell you a San Antonio woman was among the victims. She was one of the women that was shot last night in the movie theater. She was there with friend Brent Lowak. He was visiting from Texas when they decided to go see a movie. Our sister station in San Antonio was there when Lowak's father got the phone call describing what happened. We are told Lowak was also shot and underwent surgery to have shrapnel removed from his shoulder. He is doing okay today. His father describes that phone call as chilling.
I'd gotten up and I was headed toward the showers, and my wife said the phone rang. It was Brent. And I said, Brent? She goes, yeah, there was some kind of shooting in Colorado or something. And she goes, and I didn't hear whether he was, everything. She says, I assume everything was okay. And I said, whoa. And I kind of went back to bed thinking about that, and then called back later. And well, anyway, we found out that he was shot and that his girlfriend was killed.
Back here live in Aurora, Colorado. Just moments ago, I spoke to a pastor at a local church. He told me a member of his congregation was actually in the theater directly next door to the theater where this massacre took place, and that a female member of his congregation saw or heard the shots actually coming through the walls. Obviously, those young victims are traumatized today. The pastor is talking to those family members, trying to bring them some comfort today. He compared this to what happened here several years ago at Columbine High School. This community obviously all too familiar with a mass shooting. I can tell you the gunman in this case, as we mentioned, is 24 years old. We are told he will be arraigned on Monday. We will be here live in Aurora, Colorado throughout the evening, gathering new information and bringing it to you live on News 4 at 6 and 10 o'clock, along with KMOV.com. Reporting live in Aurora, Colorado, Chris Negus, News 4.
Chris, thank you very much. Great reporting as usual. And the coverage of the theater shooting doesn't stop here.
Nicely.
Coming up at 5.
We continue to follow this developing situation as the community and the country is in shock this evening after the tragic rampage. News 4's Chris Negus begins our live News 4 team coverage. Chris is live near Denver in Aurora, Colorado with more on this horrible tragedy. Chris?
And Robin, I am outside the Aurora Mall, right outside the movie theater where this happened. Police tape surrounds the scene. Most of the local Denver media, about a quarter of a mile this way, were actually able to shoot a little bit closer with the technology, live view technology, that photojournalist Steve Gurley is using. And from our vantage point, you can see the gunman's car parked right outside the door where he walked into that movie theater packed with people during that midnight shooting and started shooting people randomly. Now, as he walked in, we are told he threw some kind of a device, an explosive device, into the crowd. I actually spoke with 2 high school age girls. They told me right after 1 o'clock this morning, people started texting them to say that their friend Bree was in the theater, that she was hospitalized with some kind of chemical burn, as they describe it, from that device that was thrown into the crowd to distract people as that gunman started shooting. Now, at 5 o'clock, I compared this area to what you would see around Chesterfield Mall or the Chesterfield Valley. This is a very suburban area, and it's caught these people in shock out here in Aurora, Colorado. I also spoke with a pastor at a local church. He says a member of his congregation was in the next theater over when the gunshots started coming through the wall. Luckily, the member of his congregation was not injured, but traumatized. Today, that pastor out here counseling victims, he says this shooting rampage has devastated this community.
I think that everybody's shaken up, and it's been some years since we had another tragedy, and so...
and you're referring to Columbine?
Yeah, and so just it's hard to believe that something like this could happen again. And this isn't a bad area, but someone just gets off focus.
Back here live in Aurora, Colorado, you can see the gunman's car. We are told weapons were found in that vehicle. Investigators still out here at this hour. In fact, there are police all over the place as this shopping center, this movie theater remain closed as this investigation continues. Now, the 24-year-old gunman, he lived in an apartment not far from here. News reports in this area tell us his apartment was booby-trapped. Those are the words they are using. Investigators still at that scene working to get in. There is a high school just up the street here. That's where family, friends, and victims are going for information. But this is still a very active scene out here in Aurora, Colorado. We are going to stay on the scene and continue to gather information, bring you live reports tonight on News 4 at 10 o'clock and on KMOV.com. Reporting live in Aurora, Colorado, Chris Nagus, News 4.
Thanks, Chris. One family in Lake
We
St.
sent Chris Nagus out to Aurora, Colorado to bring you more on this story. And Chris, I understand you were able to track down a man who was one of the shooting victims.
That's right, Jasmine. We've been here all afternoon, all night. We've talked to a lot of people who are directly impacted by this tragedy that took place at the Century 16 theaters behind me in Aurora. They remain closed. It is a giant crime scene. Now, that victim we spoke to, he was walking around in the mall parking lot with a sling. He told us that he was hit by metal shrapnel when bullets started flying.
I got hurt. Like I said, my friend Rebecca got hurt. Everybody around me is affected, if you got wounded or not. Like, you walk away with some scar from that. There was just so much chaos, turmoil, people crying, people laying on the street, bleeding. I mean, it was just the most, like, it was almost out of the worst movie that you can find. And then, like, it's too punctual.
Marcus Weaver showed us the puncture wounds in his shoulder. He said his friend Rebecca is still missing tonight and unaccounted for. He prays that she is still alive, but the situation is not sounding good. Now, we talked to a lot of people out here who knew someone that was injured. Also talked to one man who had a ticket to that midnight showing, but was late to the movie. By the time he arrived, the rampage was in full effect. He pulled victims out of that theater. We also spoke with CBS anchorman Scott Pelley. He has covered stories like this on the national level for many years. We asked him to compare this incident, this theater shooting, to his coverage at the Columbine High School, where a shooting took place just a few miles from here.
What's similar is just the complete senselessness of it all. I mean, all of those people, all of those kids at Columbine killed for no good reason, no understandable reason. And then here we have this situation that's unfathomable. I mean, at the end of the day, I predict we'll never have a good motive for why this happened. It will never make sense to most folks in this country.
And back here live in Aurora, Colorado, this crime is obviously on the minds of people everywhere in this community. It has devastated this community as they try to move on. We will be here through the weekend providing live coverage on our air and on KMOV.com. Live in Aurora, Colorado, Chris Nagus, News 4.
Thank you, Chris. Tonight, movie theaters all over the country are being